I'm putting $1,000 on this play today, and I'm going to show you exactly how I came up with that. But before we get to that, let's talk about the last couple days in review. So let's go over the last couple days here with the plays that we've had. There was 9 of them, all right, over the last 2 days. Let's go through them. We had Dominic Smith for the Giants to go under 0.5 runs. That was on the 8th. He ended up hitting that. Then we had Logan O'Hoppe for the Angels to go under 0.5 runs scored. He hit that. Then we had Paul Skeens to go under 2.5 earned runs. He pitched a hell of a game, and he was able to surpass that one pretty easy. Then we had the Thunder to go over 219 total points. All right, that was obviously combined, not just the Thunder. Okay, people get that mistake. I don't know why, but combined, they were able to surpass that one pretty easily. They got like 230, I think it was, something like that. Then yesterday we had Jonathan Aranda for the Rays to get 1 hit. He ended up hitting that. Then we had Brendan Donovan for the Cardinals to get a hit. He got that. Then we had Rowdy Tellez to not cross the plate, so under 0.5 runs score. He did not cross the plate. Chris Sale to go under 2.5 earned runs. He was able to get that one pretty easily. Then we had the Oilers to go over 5 goals. Oilers versus Panthers, the total to go over the 5 alternate goals. They crushed that one. We were able to hit that one, I think, in the beginning of the third period. So overall, we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? That is 9-0 over the past 2 days. People want to ask, because I've been posting some of these plays, like the tickets, and people want to know, like, oh, if you lose one, how do you recoup? You know, how are you supposed to do that with those certain odds? Well, look, what happens when you go like this? Okay, you can afford to lose one. That is the name of the game. If you know what you're doing and you know the probabilities and you have the right strategy in place, then you string them together like this. And then if you lose one, it's not really that big of a deal. This is how you're successful in sports betting. Okay? People that are out there that are just guessing are not going 9-0 over 2 days. They're just not. People that are out there just guessing and trying to throw stuff together with certain statistics and stuff like that, they're just not doing that. You have to have the right strategy in place that gives you the exact probability of what that play is going to, what's going to happen with that play. If you don't have that knowledge, you're going to lose. Everybody loses. Okay? Everybody in this game that I have seen loses unless they know what the exact probability of a certain play is of them going to win. So, just so you know, all these plays that are here, most of these plays were over 70% probability. I think the only exceptions really were the 2 totals in the games, which was the NHL and the NBA game. But other than that, most of them were 70%, if not higher, probability. So this is what happens when you know exactly what to look for. So let's go ahead and get into today's matchup because we're going to mix it up a little bit, and we're actually going to do a total in a game rather than a player prop, and we're going to go through it. All right, so we're going to talk about a total for today. It's going to be the total in the Angels versus the Oakland A's game. All right, we're going to look at the total here. Right now, the total runs is listed at 9. All right, right now the over-under is at 9. What we are going to do here is what we're going to look at. First thing you want to look at when it comes to teams, all right? Now, I have an AI-generated software that just pumps these out if it's a good player or whatnot. So if you want access to that stuff, make sure you guys click the link in the description. I'm going to do my best to kind of explain what it is that thing kind of looks at, what the AI looks at, all right? But, for example, Angels, Oakland A's, let's take a look at the total here. We got 9. What it pretty much looks at, let's look at the batting averages first off, all right? So, batting averages, the Oakland A's are about top 10 in batting average, all right? So, not too bad. The Angels, now, they're bottom 5, okay? So, not too good there for their average, all right? Now, take that into account. Obviously, the Oakland A's, this is actually surprising. The Oakland A's are actually batting pretty good this year. But take that into account along with, now, let's take along the starters here, okay? The starters here for the Angels, their ERAs, average, not too good. All right, we got about 4.5 ERA for both here, for average starters. Now take that equation. Now, obviously, you put those together, that's a 9, right? Comes up to pretty much almost 9 there. So a lot of the time, sportsbooks will get the ERAs of the opposing teams, kind of put it together. That's where you'll get that number at. Okay, a lot of their computer systems do that. Now, one thing that they take into account, but they don't take into account heavily, is the bullpen. So the bullpen for both of these teams is atrocious. Okay, so The bullpens here, I think the Angels give up like 6 earned runs for the bullpen, and the Oakland A's is like 5.5, I think, earned runs. Okay, so we got terrible bullpens here. So the starters, not too great as well, overall combined. Starters are not that great. Then the bullpens are atrocious. So if the starters don't have stellar outings and pitch at least 6 innings, now we're going to bullpens that are terrible here. All right, we're going to some terrible bullpens. So what does that end up transitioning into? That ends up transitioning into, as you could see where we're leaning here. You could see where we're leaning just by looking at this stuff. All right, we're obviously leaning towards there's going to be more runs scored in this game. So now to backtrack that, to look further into that, now we go to the last 10 games that these guys have faced each other and look at exactly what numbers have they been hitting over those last 10 games. And 9 out of those 10 games, they've been able to surpass 7+ runs, total runs. Okay? They've been able to surpass 7+ total runs in their last 10 head-to-head matchups, not just the last 10 matchups, but the last 10 head-to-head matchups. All right, so go over here, and you go head-to-head, and you get this. Okay? They've been able to surpass 7+ runs 9 out of the 10 times. There's only been one game where they did not surpass 7+ runs. So what are we going to do here to give us the best opportunity to be able to hit a play that's a total? And like I said, we're switching it up here because usually I do player props for you guys, but we will switch it up a little bit and do one total because I felt like I wanted to explain a little bit of what you could look at when you're looking at totals and stuff, because I know a lot of people like betting that type of thing. All right, but let's go ahead, and what we're going to look at here is going to be the Angels versus the A's alternate total. All right, alternate total over 7 runs. All right, over 7 runs. That's going to be where we're leaning here. And right now, that is at Fanatics or minus 250. Okay, so not too bad. We're going to take a shot at the total here, and if all goes well on paper, we should be able to surpass 7+ runs. Okay, as long as these pitchers don't come out and just have a great outing out of nowhere and don't let anything happen. Yes, the one blemish here is going to be the Angels being bottom 5 in batting average, but should be a little bit helpful that the pitching on the other side isn't as great. All right, so the play we're going with today is going to be the Angels versus the Oakland A's alternate total over 7 runs. And like I said, you can find that at Fanatics for minus 250. And remember, when you have an edge, then every bet becomes a winning opportunity. As always, I'm Frank with Linemaker Sports. I'll see you guys in the next show. Till then, I'm out.